are not quite onboarded into our portal. So let's talk about how you do this. All right, to be onboarded into the provider portal, you must first need to sign a servicer collaboration agreement. All right, this is just an agreement between you and VHFA that we agree to share information regarding our applicants and your borrowers and how we do that. All right, and in order to get this servicer collaboration agreement form, it's available on our website. And once signed, you return it to Polly Tebow, who welcomed you to this training today. Her email is available on the screen, and we can provide it to you at the end of the call as well. So after you submit your SCA and we go ahead and get you started, you'll receive an email that welcomes you to the provider portal. In your SCA, you will identify a main point of contact. I imagine if you're on the call today, it would be you. In the event that it is not you, you would just list the person who would be the main point of contact for the program. This part is very vital to your success in logging into the provider portal. We must know your IP address. Many people wonder why. We need to know your IP address because the portal that you access is a secure site. And in order to maintain its security, it needs to be only available to you at a specific location. So you have to share us your IP address in order for us to make sure that we keep this site secure. In order to find out what your IP address is, simply go to whatsmyip.com. You can also Google what's my IP address, and many times it'll pop up that way as well. But this is very important because many times we ask you all this in an email, and then you attempt to log into the portal, and then you say you cannot. So remember this conversation right now. You will not be able to get into the portal unless you provide us with your IP address. Once you have successfully executed your servicer collaboration agreement, you've given us your IP address, you'll get an email from Alerts at FTP Today containing your username and your password. If you don't get that email address, we have Miranda Riggs on the call today. I can introduce you to her at the end of the call. She is who you will likely be corresponding with regard to onboarding into the portal, and she can absolutely resend that to you. But feel free to look into your junk mail as well if you don't get it directly into your inbox. All right, after you log into the portal, then we'll ask you to complete your onboarding form and submit your W-9. A blank onboarding form will be in the respective folder in the provider portal, and I will show you all that here shortly. So let's talk about CDF. What is CDF? CDF stands for Comma Data File. It's a standardized method of information exchange developed by the National Council of State Housing Agencies and the Housing Policy Council, working with HAP administering agencies for use in the Homeowner Assistance Fund. So when we say standardized, we mean that every state across the country is using this same method. It's a way that we keep it uniform, and it's not tailored to one specific state, which means that if you are a servicer who has borrowers in multiple states, this process remains the same, and you will complete your records just as you would do for Vermont, how you would do for any other state. All right, let's go over some record types and roles in a normal process flow. And all of this will make more sense when we move down the line, but I tend to call it alphabet soup, but you'll get the hang of it. I-record is for initial record. It's a record that is sent by us to you, indicating, that isn't good, is it, huh? All right, there we go. It's a record sent from us to you, indicating that, hey, this applicant has identified you as their lender, and we'd like some information on them. This is sent to you all prior to your response to us. The next record would be the V record. This is typically what you would send back to us if you say, yes, this is my borrower. Yes, we will accept funds from the program. Here's how much they need. The O record is the objection record. This record is if you disagree with either maybe this isn't your borrower, maybe the borrower incorrectly listed you as their lender and it was really another mortgage company or servicer, or maybe you all have started the foreclosure proceedings, You are 1 day away from foreclosure. There's, really nothing that could be done at this point. So you object to the funds. Perhaps maybe they owe way more than the program is able to provide, and you're not able to accept the funds at this time. So you would send an O record back objecting to the funds. The A record and the B record are records that we send to you. The first record is the approved record. A is for approved, just letting you know that the applicant has been approved for funds. The B record, or the batch record, that lets you know that funds have been dispersed to you. The P record is what you will send back to us, letting us know that you have applied those funds to the applicant's account. The T record is the termination record. That lets you know that the benefit distribution has been completed for this application, and we are now closing it out. There's no more action needed to be taken on this file. Someone told me the T record was their favorite. All right, so let's get into the how-to. First, we're going to go over navigating the provider portal. Give me one moment. I'm going to exit out of this PowerPoint, and I'm going to actually show you all what the provider portal looks like. All right, as I am the program manager, I have access to many folders. When you log into your provider portal, you will only see yours. So please do not be confused because you see so much. But we're going to take our testing site to use for you all today. And I'm going to utilize Chase, which is a common bank, as the example. So in this mortgage provider folder, you're going to see the Cdf folder, which is the common data file folder, the onboarding folder, which houses your onboarding form, a reports folder, the SPA folder, which will house your signed, executed collaboration agreement form, and then the W-9 folder, which will house your uploaded W-9. In the onboarding folder, there will be a blank mortgage provider onboarding form. You can click on it and it will download. Once it downloads, simply fill it out, save it, come back to the folder, and all you need to do is upload it back into your folder here. Then you will go to the W-9 folder, hit upload, find a copy of your W-9 saved where you have it in your computer, and upload it back to the folder. That completes your onboarding process for us. Let me show you the CDF folder. In the CDF folder, you have two folders, an inbound folder and an outbound folder. The outbound folder is where we will send you records. In the folder, you will have, and this is just our testing folder, so I know it looks a lot, but don't get confused. But in this folder, you're going to have two documents. It would be the third-party authorization form, which gives the borrower permission for VHFA and the Vermont Homeowner Assistance Program to speak on behalf of them to you. And then you will also have the I record, which is the record of information where we're asking you to provide us with details about the loan. And I would like to share with you what a copy of that looks like. So the third-party authorization form, it looks like this. You want to make sure that you receive a third-party authorization form before you discuss anything regarding the mortgage with us. So the third-party authorization form will have your name listed as the servicer, the loan number for the account, the property address, and then it's going to be signed by the property owner and a co-owner if applicable. All right, let's turn back to the PowerPoint. The first record that we talked about was the I record. The I record will tell you all of the information that we have regarding your applicant, or our applicant, your borrower. It will be pre-filled in, and it'll start with telling you in column A, Vermont is our state. Column B, it'll say your name, and it would be the name that we identify you as in our portal. So it would be the name that's indicated on your folder in the provider portal. It'll be the date that we sent the record to you. The unique ID is the applicant's application number. Program type will always be R for reinstatement. Record type, when we send to you, of course, will be I. This is vital, as you will need to change this every time you respond to us with a specific record. In column G, it will be the loan number. Column G will have the loan number that the applicant provided to us. And then column H, J, K, and M will have the borrower or co-borrower's first and last name. Column N will have the borrower's last four of their social. N will have the co-borrower's last four of their social, if applicable. And then P, Q, R, and S will have the property address. So every I record will have this information. You don't need to remove this information. You can keep it in these fields, but all of this will be pre-populated for you every time you receive an I record. All right, so let's talk about how to when sending back a V record or an O record. So the best practice is to use the I record provided that was sent by the state. So what do I mean when I say that? Let me show you. So when you receive an I record, it will say Vermont, then it'll say _ HAP for Homeowner Assistance Fund, and then _ the name of your company, and then _ from state, _ the date that it was sent. When you respond to us, that naming convention will change, and I'll show you how. All right, so here's an example of an applicant. As mentioned, Vermont is filled in for state. The servicer's name is filled in as Chase. The date is listed here. The application number here. Program type is here. Record type is here. Loan number, and so forth. An example of how you would respond to this, you will enable the editing. You'll say File, Save As, go to a place where you are going to maintain all of your documents related to the program. And then to change the name, it will be to state, because you are sending a document to us. You can keep the Vermont, you'll keep the _ HAP, you'll keep the _ the name of your bank, but you'll change it to state, and then you'll change it to today's date or the date you intend to send it back to us. I'm going to change it to the 29th. This number here on the end indicates how many records are actually in the file you're sending back. This file will only have one record, so I'm going to keep it as 01. In the event that you send us back more than one record, you would change it to 2 to indicate there are 2 borrowers in this file. You can change it to 3 to indicate there are 3 borrowers in the file, and so on. The first thing I will do is come and change it to a V, because I'm sending a V record back saying, yes, this is my borrower. If you don't know this borrower or you're not willing to accept funds, you would change it to an O. All right, let's go back to my PowerPoint. All right, and then we will go to the next step. All right, so step 3, based on the record type you want to send to state, you will follow the instructions provided. All right, so again, you will change it to the V or the O. We're working on the V record right now. V record or validation record is sent from you, and this record indicates that the provider agrees to receive HAP funds. All required fields must be completed before re-uploading the Cdf inbound folder. Best practice is to use the iRecord sent previously from the state, which is what we've done. All right, so now we're going to go through each of the field types. This is the part that seems quite daunting, but it's truly not. All righty, so as we kept everything the same, remember the first thing you're going to do is make sure you change this type in column F to a V. Everything will remain the same, and you can tab over to the first field you're required to enter, and that would be the U. All right, so let's go back, and I'm sorry we're going to go back and forth, but it helps me to show you what's required. All right, so column U would be the origination date. So you would tell us when this loan originated. This is a mandatory field. So we will enter in January 1st, 2009. That's when the loan originated. You must enter that field. So then we'll go back to the next one. What's the next mandatory field? It would be the loan type. This indicates all of the different loan types that you would be able to enter in. Balloon payment, interest only fixed, interest only ARM, fixed, ARM, HELOC, and so forth. So you would make sure that you've determined the type of loan this applicant has or your borrower has, and you will enter it into the V record. So I will type in fixed. The next one would be loan escrowed. This is where you will tell us, does the borrower pay, in addition to their principal and interest, taxes, insurance, both, or none? All you will have to enter in is T, I, B, or N. So I'm going to come back to the record and I will say B. And then we'll go to the next one. Next up, we have investor code. This is where you'll tell us, is this a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, private, portfolio, or a GNMA? So I'll say, well, this loan is here with us at my bank, so this would be a portfolio. All right. The next one that's mandatory will be the loan unpaid principal balance amount. So this full amount needed to pay off the total balance due at the loan. So let's just say that the borrower had a loan for $300,000. They've only paid $50,000. So the remaining unpaid principal balance amount would be $250,000. So I will put that in here. And we go to the next one. And be mindful, because I just made a mistake. This goes in Z. So make sure that it corresponds with the column that you're in. So the next one would be AA, the next payment due date. The next date that the payment is due. So let's go with 04/01/2022. This one is important, AB. AB tells us the total past due. This is the amount that we use to pay on behalf of the borrower. So this is important. Total past due, we'll put in $5,500. That's how much the program will be paying you, $5,500. The next step would be AC. This is important. This is the reinstatement good through date. This date tells us that if we were to send payment, we need to send it on or before this date, or it will no longer be good. The funds won't be valid. So we'll say that I can accept the $5,500 on or before 4/15/22. And so this tells us that if I send money after 4/15/22, this 5,500 is no longer good. So I'm actually not going to disperse those funds. I'm going to reach back out to you and I'm going to confirm what the new amount is. All right, next up is the current scheduled PITIA. So what's the current amount that's scheduled for principal and interest, taxes and insurance for right now? So right now, they are currently scheduled to pay $1,000. Next up would be the performance status. So this, you're going to tell us how many days behind are they? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days, 180 days. So I'll come over here and give me 1 second. We are at AM. So we'll go down to AM and I'll say that they are 90 days behind. Next up is AN, lien position at origination. You'll use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to indicate if they're at first position, second position, third, and so forth. And I'll say in this loan, we are at first position. And we'll go back. And this is exactly how you guys will do it until you get the hang of it, because it is kind of difficult to remember the mandatory fields that you're required to enter in. So I would suggest you just go back and forth between these to make sure that you're entering in the correct fields. So the next one is AO, which is scheduled foreclosure sale. Do they have a foreclosure sale scheduled? And so you would only need to enter in Y or N for yes or no. And this is AO. So we'll say no. All right, so AP is a conditional field. The asterisk indicates that it's a conditional field, meaning it is not mandatory. So if it does not apply, you do not have to enter anything in that area. So because I said that they do not have a scheduled foreclosure sale, I don't need to enter in a scheduled foreclosure sale date. However, if I did enter a Y in AO, then that means I do need to enter a date in AP. We'll move along to AQ since I said no for AO. And AQ is asking if this applicant or borrower is in active bankruptcy. So I'm going to go over to AQ and I'm going to enter in for no. All right, the next one is objection. Now, of course, you're sending a V record, so this should indicate that the response to AR should be no. If you are going to answer Y for objection, you should be sending an O record, okay? So if you're sending a V record in AR, we should see an N for objection. So I'm going to put an N. All right, and so now we're at AT, original term, the length of term at origination. So then we'll come back over here and we'll put in 360 months. And we'll go back. And we're almost to the end, guys. So maturity date. The maturity date of the loan would be the date that the loan should be paid off in full. So we'll say 01/01. Let's do 2039. And let's go back to third-party authorization on file. So if you can recall, when we went to the provider portal and I showed you in the outbound file where when you receive the iRecord, you should also receive the third-party authorization form. Here you will tell us Y for yes, you received it, or N for no, you did not receive it. This should be yes, because you do need this third-party authorization form to communicate with us on behalf of the borrower. So we'll put a Y there. Next up is corporate advances for reinstatement. Sometimes lenders charge a fee to reinstate the loan, or they charge individuals based on any attorney's fees or legal fees that have been accrued by the borrower. In the event that there are fees associated with reinstating this loan outside of the principal, interest, taxes, insurance, things like that, you will put those fees here as well in a Y. In the event that there are no fees associated with reinstating the loan, you can simply put 0. All right, next up, we have total escrowed advances for reinstatement. Again, there's an asterisk. If there are no escrowed advances included in the reinstatement amount, you do not have to respond, or you can put 0. Total escrow advances for reinstatement of delinquent taxes. In the event there's delinquent taxes that need to be reinstated, you can put the amount there. If it is not required, you can leave it blank, or you can put 0. Again, all of these are conditional fields that if they're not required, you may skip over. BB, total escrow advances for reinstatement of delinquent insurance. If there's an amount here, you can enter it. If it does not apply, you can skip it. BC, total escrow advances for forced placed insurance. If this applies to your borrower, you can enter the amount here. If it does not apply, it's a conditional field and you may skip it. I'm going to say that none of these apply to my borrower, so I don't have to enter in any of these amounts. We will skip to EA, deferred balance. If there's any non-interest bearing deferred balance not included as part of the interest bearing, you would put that amount here. If not, then you would enter 0. So I would say that my borrower did not have any deferred balance. And you get to, look guys, you get to just move right on down to the end. This should be exciting. Just tab. I'm just tabbing all the way over to the end. All right, so deferred balance, and I'm going to enter in 0. My borrower did not defer any of their balance to the back of their loan or deferred it for any period of time. All right, now we're going to get into COVID-19 forbearance, EM. Has the homeowner received a COVID-19 forbearance from the provider? That would be yes or no. Now, EN and EO are conditional fields based upon your response to EM. If the borrower did receive a COVID-19 forbearance, you'll tell us when it started and when it ended. If they did not, you would leave it blank. So I'm going to say yes, they did, and I will enter in the start date and the end date. And that's EM. So I'm going to say yes, they did receive a COVID-19 forbearance, and I'll say they got it back in January 5th of 2021, and they came out of it, I'll say in April 15th of 2021. All right, so the next step, EP, is post-COVID-19 forbearance workout. So you will indicate what the workout was after they came off of the COVID-19 forbearance. And so I will say that the workout has now been completed. So you can enter in 3, the number 3 for workout completed. But whatever applies, if there was no COVID-19 workout, then you would say none. This usually applies to if you said no for EM, there was no COVID-19 forbearance. Then if there was no COVID-19 forbearance for EP, there was no workout. So you would do 1 for none. Under review, meaning they're still going on, it's still under review, you can put 2. So these are the options here available for EP. Righty, moving right along. We're almost to the end for the V record. Lastly, loan type 2. So this would be the actual loan type, not just the investor, insurer, or portfolio. So your options would be Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, USDA, VA, or other. I'm going to enter in other. And that is an entire V record. Once you do that, you'll make sure that it's saved. And remember, you already saved it to state with today's date _1. And so all you'll need to do now is go back into the provider portal. And as you can see, the provider portal kicked me out. Reminder, it is a secure site and we want to keep all of your borrowers' information safe and secure. So if you are not in the site working, it will time you out. So you'll have to go back in. So remember, you'll find your folder. You'll go back to it. So I'm pretending to be Chase. And you'll go to the CDF folder. Now remember, when you are returning things to the state, to the program, you're going in the inbound folder. When we send things to you, you go to the outbound folder. So since I'm returning a file, I'm going to the inbound folder. I'll click upload. I'll locate my file I just did right here, Vermont HAP Chase to state, today's date _1. And I'm going to click on it. Oh, it's still open. Make sure you close it. And you'll upload it right here. And there it is. Now, just a reminder, if you do not enter in data in a mandatory field, the record will fail. If the record fails, you'll get an email from me saying, we received your V record, however, it failed. These are the reasons why. And then I'll ask you to please make those corrections and upload it again. And so we just went through step 4, saving the document and uploading it back to the inbound folder. The O record will be the same, but it's even smaller steps. All you have to tell us in the O record, if you object, is your lien at the position of origination, whether or not you object, and why. Please keep it to 100 characters or less, and then you will save it and upload it to the inbound folder. I know that was a lot, so we're going to pause there for any questions you may have. And I'm going to look at the chat field, and there are no questions in the chat. So if you want to raise your hand, I can call on you if you have any questions. Or did everybody just run away because it was too much? Can more than one person be listed as a contact? Absolutely. We will need the email address, and we will need their name, and we will need an IP address for them. But yes, Trina, more than one person can be listed as a point of contact. Any other questions about the V record at this time? Who receives the file? It would be sent to the folder in the provider portal, and the person who's listed as the point of contact, who has the access to the provider portal, will get the files, the records. Would we send that to you, Ingrid, or Polly? So Miranda Riggs is on the call. She is responsible for onboarding providers, and you should have received correspondence from her during the onboarding process. If it was early on in the program, Trina, I think I might have onboarded you, but Miranda Briggs can definitely provide you with her contact information at the end of the call. And anytime you need to make changes to your onboarding form or make an addition to a point of contact, you can provide that information to her. Anyone else about the V record? You're welcome, Trina. Okay, well, the chat is open. If you have any questions, make sure you add them in there, but we're going to go on now. For column Y, investor code. If servicing for VHFA, would it be private? So let's go back to your options. Okay, so investor code, which would be X, you would have yes. So you could let me, Susan, are you on the call?
Yes.
Okay, so Susan is asking for, let's go, for investor code for a mortgage that is serviced for VHFA, would it be private? And Polly, you might can jump in here as well. I imagine the answer would be yes, because
yes,
it's not.
would.
Okay. Yeah. So yes, Patty, private. You're welcome. All righty. Any other questions before I hop into the second part of this? And feel free to unmute and you can ask your questions if you can't get it typed. Oh, Everett. What if a customer is contractually current but has had a serious problem paying their property taxes? The customer did not have a tax escrow, but due to circumstances, we had to establish a negative escrow that is huge. Can the customer apply to cure the negative escrow even though they are contractually current? So they never pay do they start off not paying their property taxes with escrowed in their mortgage, or I'm not exactly understanding. Everett, if you don't mind explaining a little bit more.
Everett, was an escrow set up after the fact once the customer became delinquent with taxes? Is that what you're saying? I think you're on mute.
Okay, it's a combination of both. All right, so he fell past due with his taxes, however, lost a serious job, had a serious reduction in income, and then during COVID, it exasperated the situation. We have a very large negative escrow. Now, the question is, if we can prove that it's COVID related, can we apply to be reimbursed for a negative escrow? Right? We have a tax tracking service that picked up this negative escrow, and we established a negative escrow to help the customer out. He's paying it over the course of the next 5 years. Can we apply to, if we can prove it's COVID related, can we apply to help this guy pay the negative escrow? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. But that's a scenario that we have not encountered. So if we were to pay the negative escrow, it would be toward the actual loan, or would this be something set up separately?
Well, the negative escrow is huge. It's tens of thousands of dollars, which has increased this customer's payment by more than $1,000. So if we can get the negative escrow cleared, then we can lower his payment, which is going to make it easier on this customer to make the payments going forward.
Sure. Okay, Everett, allow me to sidebar with you, and we can figure out how to if this program is able to help in that manner. This is the first time I'm hearing something like that, and I don't want to steer you wrong. So can we sidebar on that one, Polly?
Yeah, I think that we should. And one of the things, as Everett, that you might want to dig into first is to separate the expenses that happened after January, was it 20th, Ingrid, 2021 for
Yes.
qualification. So you might want to do that before you get with us.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All
And
right.
I can set up a call.
But I will note that even though we accept applicants who would attest to financial hardship at January 20th, 2020, all the 20s, even if it started before then, and we can show a history of it continuing throughout up until now, we still will assist in hardships that happen before that date. It just has to be, we have to show that it has continued over time, even into the pandemic.
Right, and then you have to keep in mind the $30,000 cap per applicant, as well as if they're applying for multiple assistances, not just the mortgage, the taxes, but if they're applying for fuel and possibly electricity and water, sewer, those types of things. Those are all qualifying application requests, but we need to piece those all out too. So if this person's coming in to do an application, we'll have to, yeah, we could look at that individually too.
Okay, thank you very much for your help.
Yeah. And there was a question in the chat from Joanna Goodrich, who asks, what is the time frame for being notified of a failed V record? And you should receive an email within the week of that failed V record. Any more questions? Okay, as mentioned, feel free to just continue typing them in the chat if you have any. All right, so we'll move on to the P record. So the P record is another record that you will need to send to us, indicating that you've applied these funds to the borrower's account. Note, you'll receive an A record first, letting you know that the applicant has been approved for the funds that you verified in the B record. Then you'll receive a B record, letting you know that those funds have been dispersed. After you get that B record, that's when you'll send us the P record. The record must be completed within 15 to 30 days of receiving that B record. And you'll place the P record in the inbound folder in the portal, just as you did when you submitted the V record. For the P record, you're going to let us know the next payment due date, the amount of the payment that was applied, and then you'll tell us whether or not there was a shortage or an overage. So say, for instance, the applicant has made a payment in between the time period where you sent the V record and then we applied the funds. Maybe they were scared or they just really didn't know. So they went ahead and applied a payment to their account. So at this point now we have an overage. And so you would need to notify us of that overage amount. And then in column BV, if there is an overage or an underage, you'll explain to us what the discrepancy was. All right, so let's go over a couple of miscellaneous record types. So there are record. We just talked about whether or not there was an overage. If there's an overage, then you'll send us an R record, letting us know that you're returning funds back to us. It's in conjunction with the P record, letting us know that, of course, there's an overage. Here's how much we're sending back. A Q record is sent as a requote record. That's when we talked about the reinstatement good through date in the event that the reinstatement good through date has passed. And we will send you a Q record so that you can get us a new amount and a new good through date. When you return the record to us, similar to the V record, but you'll return a Y record because the Y record is in response to the Q record, and a V record is in response to an I record. So Y record is just the same as a V record. It's just only in response to the Q record because you're updating the reinstatement good through date and the amount due. W record is a withdrawn record. If you wish to no longer receive assistance after you previously indicated that you would then send us a Y record letting us know that you withdraw from the program. For example, if the loan was transferred to another lender, or the homeowner filed for bankruptcy, or if the homeowner is now deceased, you would send us the W record to say that you no longer wish to participate. A C record is a correction record, and it's sent to us to update anything that you put in the V record. Some examples would be like a total past due fee, if the fees change, that kind of information. Best practice is to just take that V record, change the name of the file to update the date that you're sending it to us, and then change that V to a C in field F for the record type and send it right on back to us. And then the D record is the denial record, and it just lets you know that we've denied the applicant for assistance as we deem them no longer eligible. So these are just kind of miscellaneous record types that don't really fall in the process of a normal exchange with the state, but sometimes you do need to use them. All righty, so hold tight. This is a process map of how like a normal flow of how data is communicated back and forth between the servicer and the agency, and the record types that apply. So if we start all the way at the left side of our screen, you'll see up here at the top in the green is the state administrating agency, so that would be VHFA. In the middle is the record type, and down here at the bottom is the servicer. And so we'll start at the bottom because you see the arrow going down, so it starts here. And so it begins with us at VHFA telling you that, hey, we have an eligible applicant that states that you're their lender. So that is the I record. And it comes down here to you as the servicer. The servicer then processes this request, and we move over here to accepts, validates, HAP assistance. So you come up to the V. If you do that, you are sending us a V record. If you're going to accept the assistance, you're going to send us the V record, and the V record then comes to us here at VHFA. Also, you could send us the O record if you opt out of or object to the program, and they both come up here to VHFA. After we receive your V or O record, then we'll ask ourselves, is there an update required? If no, then we'll move on to eligibility. If yes, then this is where I mentioned we will send you a Q record. The Q record then goes to you as the servicer, who responds with the Y record, updating the reinstatement good through date and the total amount due. Then it comes back up here to us. All right, after we realize that we've gotten the data that we need to move forward with payment, we determine if the applicant is eligible or not. If you send us an O record, or if you send us a V record that has no fees due at this time, then you're going to get a D record letting you know that they're ineligible. This is the denial record. It comes to you, and that is the end of the process. If we find that they are eligible, then we send an approval, and that means you get the A record. After that, we can go over to the funding and post-funding side. After you receive the A record, you get the option to send us a W record, which we talked about, which would mean that you are withdrawing from the program for whatever reason. If we don't get that W record from you, after the A record, you will get a B record letting you know that payment is on the way. That B record is sent from us to you, letting you know that payment is on the way. Again, after you receive payment, you will then send us the P record. The P record will let us know that you applied those funds to the borrower. After we receive the P record, we then send you the T record, letting you know that we've terminated all processes and there's no action further required on your end. And that is the life cycle of the CDF process from beginning to end. All right, that is our entire presentation for today. I am going to now go back over to the chat and see if we have any additional questions, and the floor is open to everyone. In a perfect situation, what is the turnaround time for funding? All right, in a perfect situation, once we send you the iRecord, you should get it within a couple of hours of us generating it. If you send us the V-record back in the same day, and if there is a situation where the individual is badly in need of this assistance, and you reach out to us and you say, hey, could you please, expedite this? If the V-record is there and it passed, we can go ahead and process it. VHFA makes payments once a week. So in the event that you confirm this amount prior to a Friday, we can work with our accounting team at VHFA to try and get those funds to you. However, we typically like to say that processing times last 45 to 60 days because it also includes us reviewing the application for eligibility. Certain times the applicant may or may not give us exactly what we need to confirm that eligibility. And so then we have to go back and request additional information. That does take time. So we like to say 45 to 60 days. However, Marcy, if you have a situation where someone is in badly need of assistance, you can always feel free to reach out to us and we can see what we can do to turn that time around for you quicker than that. Can we get Trina, you will get the entire PowerPoint and it will consist of that life cycle.
And Patty has her hand up.
Hey, Patty.
You're on mute, Patty.
Oh, she says no, sorry. Okay, go ahead and lower it then.
I just had a question whether you covered late fees.
Yes, so when you send in the total amount due in column 8AB, feel free to put in the total amount required to bring that loan to current in AB.
Okay. Thank you.
You're most welcome. What if the CDF file was uploaded, but the record type was not changed to V? Will that be caught and returned as a failed record? Yes, it will. Or should a new CDF file be sent? Now, if you notice it prior to me sending you notification of the failed record, feel free to go ahead and resend it anyways. You'll have to do that. So if you catch it, go ahead and resend the correct V record. If I catch it, I'll send you an email. You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions now? Oh,
should
Patty.
Other fees be included, such as property inspection fees? If they are required to reinstate the loan, you can include those fees in column AY. Is everyone on the call onboarded? Is there anyone on the call who has not submitted their onboarding documentation and is not currently receiving records? Okay, hold on one moment. I'm reading Sherry's question. Sherry, if you don't mind, can we discuss offline about that one? I'd love to get with you and Polly, and we figure out who this borrower is and how we can help. So to be clear, if those other fees or late charges are not required to be reinstated, they will not be paid. Can you tell me what those other fees or late charges are? Because fees, late charges, late fees are included. So can you explain to me what other fees are?
Well, someone had just asked you about property inspections.
Right. So if they're required to reinstate the loan, you put them in column AY, and we will include that with AB to make the payment. But if it's not required.
Right. If it's not required, then you wouldn't put it in that column.
Correct.
They might still owe it, but you wouldn't put it in that column because it's not required to be reinstated.
So could you tell me what those fees are, though? Like what would those fees be?
Well, someone else was asking you that question, Ingrid, so I was just saying other fees. I'm more specifically am referring to late fees. So if someone is 3 months past due and they have several months worth of late fees, but they're not required to pay the late fees to bring the loan current, then they're not going to.
We will pay the late fees, and you can include that in AB.
I'll have to talk offline then because of a recent case that we just had.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So we will pay the amount that is past due, including the late fees, and you will include that in AB. There are times that some entities charge reinstatement fees along with the total amount that's past due. Sometimes they charge attorney fees if they had to use an attorney to file certain documents in relation to foreclosure or things like that. You can include those in AY, and we will also pay those if they're required to reinstate the loan. And if you are not onboarded yet, please, 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 immediately following this training, head over to our website, download that servicer collaboration agreement, get it over to Miss Polly so we can get you onboarded.
And I saw some folks in the chat who were not sure, so I'll reach out to you individually on that.
Okay, when will we start receiving the V records? Miss Marcy, you won't receive the V records, we will. So I imagine you mean the I records. And Marcy, can you please tell me who do you represent? Which entity do you represent? Union Bank. Polly, is Union Bank onboarded?
I'm checking on that right now.
Okay.
They are.
Okay. Alrighty. So we are in the process of sending out iRecords today and tomorrow. If you have not received an iRecord yet and you have an applicant in our system, they have met eligibility, you should receive an iRecord before the end of the week. You're very welcome. All right. Well, are there any more questions? Please feel free to unmute and shout your question out. Okay. Well, Polly, yep. Oh, yes, I'm so sorry. Miranda Riggs has shared her her email address, and she is available for any questions with regard to onboarding. It's mriggs@vhfa.org. If you have been in contact with Miranda, you'll find she is super helpful with the onboarding process. We appreciate her and all of her efforts to get you all onboarded with the program.
So I
And,
guess our
yeah.
time is just about up, right? So
Yeah.
if folks are all set, and you can always reach out individually if you have questions, concerns along the way. We'll help you out as much as we can. And so I'd like to thank everyone for taking this time today and hoping that it was helpful and sort of unlocked some of the mysteries of this CDF form.
Yes. All right. Thanks, everyone. I'll stay back for just a little while longer in the event that anyone has any additional questions. But you may feel free to log off if you do not have any. Thank you, Sherry. Sherry and Everett, we will get with you outside of this call to answer your specific questions. You're most welcome. I'll stay back just a little, Polly. Usually we'll have like one person that comes in at the tail end with the question. So I'll wait until the last person is logged off.
No, absolutely. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Looks like we still have Joanna and Everett.
Yeah, looks like.
Oh, hey, Everett.
Hi. All right. So this is a particular situation. The customer was past due with their taxes going forward, but went into a very long forbearance, COVID-19 forbearance. He lost several jobs, which also impacted his ability to pay these property taxes. The property taxes that we had to pay were more than $30,000. We don't expect to get them all, but my question, whenever I ask a question, the first question is it possible? The difference between may and can. Can means, is it possible to do it at all? May means,